Hello everyone, it's David again. We are on Babylon 5 Season 3 Episode 15, Interludes and Examinations. One of my favorite episodes and kind of a little bit of a touching episode. This is where the Shadows and the Vorlons confront each other directly, openly. We start off with random shadow attacks all over, and they're trying to figure out the rhyme and reason as to what's going on. The shadows, for some reason, seem to have it in for the Precuri. Didn't notice that, but just poor guys just get hammered left and right and center. We see that Mr. Morgan bribes his way on board. Looks to be some sort of diamonds, since I don't think they can be traced. So it'd be a great mode to, pay for illicit things. We zip in, and Dr. Franklin is in his quarters, and he is now shooting up stims by himself, alone in the. Let me tell you something. As a recovering alcoholic, when we start doing that, things are on the downhill slope real quick for us. When I started drinking at home alone by myself, about 3 or 4 years before I got sobered up, went into rehab and got sobered up. But what brought it on for me was I was driving home. I was hanging out with my friends all that night. We were drinking and dancing and partying, and it was like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. The sun was barely coming up. I'm literally one block from my house or apartment. I stop at a red stop sign. A cop pulls right up behind me. And I thought, oh crap, because there is no way I'm going to talk my way out of this one, because there's no way I could have passed a field sobriety test. Soon as the light went on, I went to go through the intersection, and all of a sudden, bam, the lights and the sirens went on. And I thought, oh shit, I'm dead. My nursing career is toast, and oh no, what am I gonna do? So I flicker, turn on my switch, and I pull over, and zoom, the cop car goes right past me, completely uninterested in me. So I drive the 1 block to get to my house and swore that I would never drink and drive again, which I didn't. I just sat at home and stayed drunk for many years until I finally got a brain cell to fire off that, said, hey, you moron, you're going to kill yourself doing this. So, got into rehab, and that's almost 18 years of sobriety. So, anyways, we're going to go back to Babylon 5. Dr. Franklin's shooting up stims at home by himself. And Ivanova says no one has seen Kosh in over a week, and she says when the Vorlon goes to ground, that's when she starts to worry. And we also learn that Adira is coming back to Babylon 5. Yay for Londo! Ooh, not so much, I'm afraid. And we zip in, and Mr. Morden gets his room, and the shadows decloak, I guess, to talk to Morden. So you get to see the shadows without that shimmering effect or whatever. They are, you get a nice couple seconds of shadows talking to Morden. A question, how do they know what's going to go down here? Or is it just dumb luck? They were trying to catch up with, trying to catch up with Londo to force him to, let Rifa and the others to go back to the Centauri warring ways. And it just so happened that Adira was coming to Babylon 5, and then the because the Vorlons always had the excuse of Valen. Because Valen went back 1,000 years and told them, said, hey, Kosh, just to let you know, in about 1,000 years from now, there's going to be another space station called Babylon 5, and you're going to meet your maker on that station. So just thought you might want to know. The Vorlons have the Valen excuse, I call it. How do the shadows know? Or is it just dumb luck that they're there at that point in time? I'm wondering, maybe they do know. Maybe they are. Maybe they can tell the future. I kind of, in a lot of ways, I doubt that. But of course, we talk about seers and all kinds of other things here, and if the Centauri can see into the future and have dreams about the future and know when and sometimes where and how they are going to die, certainly the Vorlons and the Shadows could. I'm sure the Shadows have a pretty extensive spy network amongst the Vorlons and vice versa. So, and I kind of go back and forth on that one. We cue the entrance, and they are having a meeting between, I believe it was the Bakiri and the Gayam. Several Bakir are getting their butts kicked, and Sheridan wants the Gayam as the kind of local regional power to step in. There's 4 other worlds, but the 4 other worlds said they would get involved if only the Gayam would get involved. And the Gayam, if you don't remember, are that little insectoid kind of species, and they click, 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 and they talk into this translator thing. Looks like one of them old radio microphones from the 1940s or 50s. Basically, he goes back and forth and says, to Sheridan, do you have equal power? Basically, if you can back us up at some point in time, we will get involved now. Otherwise, we're content to just lay low, and maybe they'll pass us by. You don't know that. So, prove to us you've got equal power, or the ability to back us up in the future when the Shadows turn their eye towards us, and sure, we'll help out, or at least consider it. So we zip in, and there's MedLab, and Dr. Franklin's talking to another doctor, and Dr. Franklin has what we call a conniption fit. He literally almost, had to be held down and sedated. He was that out of control. And he does he makes it what we call a sentinel or a near sentinel event. A sentinel event is when a patient dies under your care due to negligence, okay? So, if somebody comes in and they have terminal cancer and they die, no, they're not going to care about that. But if I were to overdose them on morphine, or something like that, that would be a sentinel event. If I were to give them the wrong medication and that caused them to die, that would be a sentinel event. Dr. Franklin comes within a hair's breadth of making that sentinel event. And, of course, Garibaldi witnesses this. So now Garibaldi is as a recovering alcoholic, Garibaldi speaking, I've got to do something about this, because otherwise Dr. Franklin's going to kill somebody, and basically he can kiss his medical career goodbye, and he's my friend, and I don't want to have him ruin his career. So we zip in, and Morden ends up confronting Malari about carving up the galaxy. They were out in the hallway, and all of a sudden the lights dim, and you can hear what I call the shadow whisper. They're trying to, and this time though, Londo seems to be able to hear the shadows, because Londo keeps turning his head like, what's that? It's like when your cat sees something on the ceiling and you're like, huh? That's kind of what Londo was doing. So maybe Londo's getting a little bit more sensitive to what the shadow influence is doing to him. We zip in, and Michael Garibaldi confronts Dr. Franklin about the breakdown and says, look, either you come clean and admit you have a problem and I can help you, or I'm going to have to go through official channels, and if we do that, you could end up possibly kissing your career goodbye. We zip in, and Delenn and Sheridan are talking, and Sheridan is like, if I could just give these Gayam and the other League ambassadors a nice, strong victory, they could sign on board. And Delenn says, well, then perhaps you should just give them a victory. And he's like, oh, just like that. She goes, yep, just like that. And he goes, everybody around here starts talking more and more like Kosh. And all of a sudden he gets, the light bulb clicks on up ahead. Imagine the Vorlons could give us a victory. We zip in Med Lab, and Michael Garibaldi tries to access Dr. Franklin's medical records to see if he has been tested for stimulants. And right before he hits the send button, he says, no, I'm gonna, this is my homeboy. I can't do him dirty like this. And so he hits the abort button and looks up, and there's Dr. Franklin, who's been watching him. And Franklin's like, just to let you know, once I realized what was going on, I ran the tests myself, and I've got a problem, dude. So, Garibaldi's like, what you gonna do about it? And he goes, I don't know yet. Give me a few. We zip in, and Kosh and Sheridan are talking out in the hallway, and Sheridan is like, look, homeboy, we need a victory. You have got to have technology at least as good as the Shadows. We need a victory. And Kosh says no. And this is where they get in the back and forth, and Kosh gets irritated, nonetheless, to say with Sheridan, and starts smacking him around. And I wonder how he did that. Some sort of like force choke or something like that. You can see the little lights going off, and then there's a power drain and stuff like that. So if any of you have any ideas that can put it in, some sort of something that I can, my simpleton brain can follow, go ahead and put it in the comments down below about how that sort of thing was accomplished, because I'm just kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool graphics, but I wonder how they did that. We zip in, and sure enough, Vorlon fleet engages the Shadow vessels and just totally whacks them. Okay, I mean, poor Shadows. You almost felt sorry for them. Until, of course, what they do next. We zip in, and poor Adira is killed, and Londo thinks it was his old buddy Lord Rifa, because he half poisoned Lord Rifa. So it was only natural Rifa would come after him. We zip in, and Morden is now gotten word of the Vorlon attack, and he looks concerned and surprised, like he wasn't expecting this. So that makes me wonder if it was just dumb luck that he was at Babylon 5, as opposed to he knew what was coming down the road. Because it's only after he gets word of the Vorlon attack that that he puts in the plan, and he gets the key to Kosh's quarters, and Kosh is unfortunately smoked. Pretty much literally, if you look at it. Anyway, the League Worlds sign up for the fight up ahead. And before Sheridan gets a chance to thank Kosh, Kosh is killed. Everything that Kosh had or owned was placed on board his ship, and Delenn makes a little bit of some comments about how the ship is a curious way alive. It's a part of him. It cannot survive without him. And so as soon as the loss of Kosh's items and encounter chute is put on board, the ship flies itself into the sun. It's kind of a little bit of the touchy-feelies right there at the very end. Right before that, though, we have Londo wants Morden to help him get revenge on Rifa, and pretty much at this point he's lost the love of his life, so he doesn't care what happens from now on. He just wants, Rifa and anyone else who opposes him to die, and the rest of the universe be damned. And we also zip in, and Dr. Franklin tenders his resignation to Sheridan and has to walk out. Certainly, probably the timing couldn't have been worse, but, what are you going to do? He's going to keep using the alcohol or drugs or stims in his case until he makes a critical mistake, which he very damn nearly did. And yes, I have seen doctors and nurses who have had made sentinel events and killed people because of addiction problems. So, there are mechanisms. If you are a doctor or a nurse who has an addiction problem, there are mechanisms in each of the board of medicine or the board of nursing to help you with those problems. So, if that's the case, you can always welcome to send me a message here. If you need that kind of help, and I can get you some information and resources. But at any rate, I guess it goes to show, is how much are the Vorlons and the Shadows, how much of the future can they tell, or is it just random luck and random events, or is it just the fact that they've relied on Valen's information to know what's been going on for the last 1,000 years? At any rate, always like, comment, subscribe, and share. And I'll see you for Season 3, Episode 16, War Without End, Part 1, where Babylon 5's favorite Commander Sinclair comes back.